Hello, this is a tutorial to show how to add text to the bottom of a category page for Genesis. Genesis themes have boxes for the top up here built in. Let's go to the back end and look at that. The description box is not used in Genesis. This is a default WordPress field, but the headline and then the intro text is here. And in order to get text on the bottom, we're going to need another field just like this. And to do that, we're going to go into plugins and get advanced custom fields. This is a wonderful plugin. I use it on almost every website that I build, and it allows for very easy addition of custom boxes throughout WordPress. So in order to add that, you would go in here to go and type advanced customs. And I hate when it refreshes before I'm done typing. Advanced custom fields. And there it is. So you would click install now and activate. You can see I already have it there. And once you get this added, it is going to show up down here as custom fields. And in custom fields, then you're going to create a field group. And they do it this way because you could have multiple fields that show up wherever you're trying to create this. And I called it category bottom for my group name. And then we only need the one field, category bottom text is what I've named it. You can name it anything. That's the label that's going to show up on the category page editor. And this is the actual custom field that it's storing it into. And for the field type, by default, it's set to just a standard text field, but you'll want to use the WYSIWYG editor, which is basically the classic editor box. And that's all you need to set up for the field itself. And then you want to set where is this field going to show up. It's going to show up under the taxonomy that is equal to category. And everything else can be left alone on the page. Once you get this set up, click publish, or I've already got it published, so we don't need to do anything there. So that is going to show on, let's go to bars where I was working. That is going to then add the field down at the bottom here. You see there's our group, here's our individual field label, and then there's our box. And it should be the standard box that you're used to using. Now, in order to get this text to show up on the front end, we have to use what's called a hook. There is a great page called, for Genesis Tutorials, Visual Hook Guide. And what this does is it shows all of these different locations of where you can run code within Genesis. And we're looking at a category page here on this tutorial website, and looking down at the bottom of the posts, you can see there's a couple of different hooks. So this after entry hook shows up after each individual post. So we don't want that one. This is where the loop ends, going through and pulling in the posts. We're going to want that very first one, Genesis after end while loop location. So in order to get that to show up, we're using the Simple Hooks plugin. So let's go in here to, that's another plugin. Same thing, you would just search for it in plugins, add it, activate it, good. I'll explain this one in a little bit. This is really just pulling in the same tutorial, this kind of layout, on your website. You probably won't want to do that on your live site because that might confuse users. But I have it on here for demo purposes to show you something. So once the Simple Hooks plugin is added, Then you can go under Genesis Simple Hooks, and all of these different hook locations are going to be available in little boxes for you to type text in. So we're looking for end while. There it is. And then I've got a tiny bit of PHP that's going to run. And because it is PHP code, you need to check this execute PHP on this hook box. And what this PHP is doing is it's saying, hey, what category are we on? And it's saying get query object. And we're storing that into this term variable. And then we're saying, oh, okay, get the field category bottom text, which we set up. And we're getting that field that's saved on the term that we're looking at. So we're only getting the field for the specific category page when each one loads. And then it's saying if that has something stored in it, show it. It's always good to use a little if statement so that we're not trying to show something that doesn't exist. That can cause errors. So once this is set up to show up in that specific location, then you'd click Save. So let's go back here to our category. Example text. Click Update. And let's look at it. So there's our text at the top. And then our text at the bottom is showing up, but it's showing up after the pagination. So why is it doing that? Let's take a quick look. Action hooks. So this is, again, that tutorial type of code, but I'm running it on my development environment. I want to see all the hooks. And maybe we can see what's going on. So our code is showing up in the same hook as the pagination. So the theme has added the pagination into the exact same hook, and it has priority over ours. So in order to get our text to show up first, it looks like we're not going to be able to use the Simple Hooks plugin. We're going to have to write code ourselves to get it to work. So let's go into, just to show you here, the functions.php file for our Foodie Pro theme, the child theme that we're looking at. And I've got that opened up here. I am going to do add action. And this is the same thing as using Simple Hooks. We're just doing it in actual code. So we want to use the after and while hook. So we'll put that in there. And then we're going to create our own little function. Let's just call it, I'll do BTH for my own code. And then let's call it after category text. So that's my function name, and with a semicolon. Let's create our function. Now we're already in a PHP block here, so we don't need to change anything. But let's go back to grab our code. Just going to copy it. I'm going to paste it in there. And we're going to do one more thing. We're going to set the priority. So by default, it's 10. We're going to put it at 5. Let's save that back to the server. And let's go to our page bars. There you go. So here we've got it coming from the Genesis simple hooks. And here is where I've added it in the actual, using the same exact hook as the Genesis simple hooks, but I set the priority to be 5 instead of 10. Now, if I set this priority to be 10, then save it, go back to our page, and you'll see it's going to jump down to below. So that's what tells me exactly the problem. So simple hooks isn't going to work. I checked, we can't change the priority in the simple hooks plugin. So the only way to get this added is to do it in the actual functions file of your theme and changing this priority so that it runs earlier than the other one. So there you go. If you need help in getting this set up, I totally can. The hardest part is probably the FTP part, editing the files on your server. I can show you here real quick. In your dashboard, theme editor, there is your functions file. And you can go down here and you can see there's the exact code that I was just writing elsewhere, and you can access it right here in your dashboard. The problem is if you make an accidentally putting different code in here, then it can break your website. The newer versions of WordPress has a protection against you breaking it. So let me just show you an example. If I get rid of that semicolon and I click update file, see how it says here, your PHP code changes were rolled back because of an error. I did something wrong. And it doesn't tell me real clear what I did wrong, but it just says, hey, you did something incorrect. So it kind of saves us, but that's only on the more recent versions of WordPress. If you're on a slightly older version of WordPress, this isn't going to happen, and you're going to break your website. So I don't advise you edit here in this theme editor section, but if you're on the newest version of WordPress, you're kind of safe. So let me put that back in. And if you feel comfortable editing in here, this is the best way to do it, since we found out that simple hooks won't get the job done. It's going to put it after pagination, which is kind of awkward. So if you have any additional questions, let me know, and I can try to help you out.